Where's the bar? I don't understand. At what point are you going to be like, okay, so there are certain individuals who, if we give them the power on this thing we've created, let's, what do we call it? Social media. If we give them the power on our social media to grow to certain sizes, they actually have the same power as broadcasters, TV stations, newspapers, that kind of stuff. And if we give them that power and they have no editorial staff, no control, no producers, no nothing, it's just whatever comes to their brains, their syphilitic brains, they get to publish and put out there. And what about the effects? Like, if it has real world effects, damaging effects, if people try to upend democracy, fucking do a coup, should we maybe say we should restrict that?
The four horsemen of the apocalypse. Can you do a pun on that?
That's pretty good.
The Twitter apocalypse? I don't know, apocalypse twit. They're back on, aren't they? Tate and Kanye and all of that. And
holy bro, what is happening here? You got yourself a new 40 set. He's got a brand new set. Look at this shit. Like he's got other people who work with him. He has multiple characters. It's expanded. He has Tim Pooled his life, Russell. And with this background, it looks like divine light coming from behind you, emanating directly from your brain. Oh my.
what does it mean now? What is morality anymore? Who gets sanctioned? Who imposes sanctions? Former guest on the show, and I would say friend of the show, because I'm certainly a friend of me personally, Jordan Peterson. He's back on Twitter. He's baiting them by using the famous Shining image of...
Yeah, cool reference. Yeah, that's me. That's me, Jordan Peterson, the guy who goes pretty insane and murders his family. Who can't stand his kid anymore or his wife and just loses control and then starts seeing some kind of apparitions and visions and blood coming out of the elevators. And if only one could eat something beyond meat, all the meat all day, makes Jordan a dull boy. All meat all day makes Jordan a dull boy. And salt. Can't forget salt. At least I'm allowed salt. Meat and salt every day. Oh, and cider. Oh, don't bloody get me started about the cider. Oh, the visions. Fucking bloody hell.
Jack Nicholson there.
Effective, isn't it?
Yeah, because of the whites of the eyes and the teeth. That's menace. And also that he's glancing to the side. That's a lot.
Yeah, it's cool. And it's like, I really like the scene that it's from, where he takes the axe and then smashes the door because he wants to murder his wife. And then they basically look inside the door and the woman is terrified. Absolutely. Like you can just see the raw, pure fear in her eyes as she believes she's about to have an axe to the face. Yes, that moment, definitely fucking edgy and representative of Dr. Jordan B. Peterson.
Of whites, that's a lot of whites.
Do you think he does his own tweets, Jordan?
Yeah, I do. JP does his own tweets, no question. And what's the first tweet back from?
I think that may be one of the first things I'm agreeing with Russell on, because I too agree with that. I think JP does do his own tweets. I don't get a very, temp vibe from them. They're very specific, and like they're also like, I don't think I would have been banned from The Good Doctor for that apple cider shooting photo if it wasn't Jordan Peterson. Like a temp would have probably been like like not like laughing out loud, like really loud, like just like a something like that. I think that would have been a temp. But Jordan Peterson scene was like, oh God, you satanic agent of chaos, I'll take you down.
From say Andrew Tate. Oh, I mean, we've not had Andrew Tate on, have we? Like, a lot of people say misogynist, sexist. Some people say just the sexier JP. He says, mastery is...
Oh, wow. Okay, so this is the problem with centrism, especially like diluted, enlightened centrism. They are unable to see the world outside of this weird focus of that, like, well, don't go too far left. If you go too far left, I mean, that's straight up Stalin, communism, and mass murder. Really bad. But don't go too far right. If you go too far right, that's fascism and that's Nazis, Hitler, Mussolini, Pol Pot. Don't do that one. It's basically don't ever go. But if you stay in the center, that's where, like, some people will say this, others will say this. Where does the truth lie? In the gooey middle. Yeah, it's like the gobstoppers of fucking philosophy. Here's the thing. You, Russell, you have a massive platform. I think you're fucking closing in on, you already passed it. 6 million subscribers. Russell Brand, are you ahead of fucking Steven Crowder? Hold on. Let us see who is winning. Oh my God, you beat Crowder. Holy shit. I didn't know. Russell Brand's the biggest.
A funny thing, it's almost as if on a long enough timescale, losing simply isn't an option. Such is the way of Wudan. Now, I will say I don't know what Wudan is. That's probably something that he talks about in his content, I suppose,
Right.
is it?
It's not just misspelled Wuhan.
Is it Wuhan? Such is the way.
I'm glad I caught this. Russell Brand has beat out Steven Crowder to become the biggest or the largest political channel on YouTube.
Of Wuhan. Right. You're fine in the lab. Stay away from the wet market. That lab, they're literally clinical conditions. Very safe in there. You don't need to worry. But that wet market, but like, careful, you'll do a pandemic. Ye came back with a much more sort of direct. I reckon Ye does his own tweets because his first tweet back, testing, seeing if my Twitter is unblocked. I like that because that is that meta.
No, Tim Pool's Crowder was always bigger than Pool. Crowder also gets more live viewers than Pool. Crowder might have lost this race because he basically got banned for a couple weeks off YouTube, and maybe that's when Russell Brand got the edge. But more people are turning to Russell Brand. I think Russell Brand is playing it also very careful, right? He's, as this enlightened centrist, he says at the streams, he's like, I know a lot of you like Donald Trump, a lot of you are right-wingers, but I believe in love and the power of intelligence and beauty and apparitions and crystal skulls. So because of all that, and where I'm situated, I just got to say, you can believe what you want to believe, and I'm going to just find where the truth lies in the middle, and then talk about how vaccines basically cause autism. That's what I'm about. So when he plays that game, he appeals not only to, broadly speaking, a lot of the right. So a lot of the right will follow you. A lot of the right love the anti-vax shit. A lot of the right love all the other things that he's offering. But in betwixt everything, he also gets to say things and throw this in there. And this is definitely what he's doing right here, where he's like, I also want to appeal to some people in the middle. Why not? You don't have to hate me. I'm not ideologically driven very far in one way or the other. You can enjoy my content, and maybe even some liberals will find some peace in what I offer.
Or is that just how he did that?
Yeah.
Because look,
he outcompeted Tim Pool for the faux centrist audience. Yep. Oh yeah, he beat Tim Pool.
Yeah, is a great case study for the nature of genius because he's a great creator and he's brilliant. And there's been so many times when he's sailed close to the winds. You can see that there's been times where they've gone, we don't like Kanye, shut him down. But then of course he, recently I think they've stepped it up a little bit. There's been cancellation of his deals and all stuff, and that was and kicked off.
Took a while though, didn't it?
They had to grind him.
Adidas took their time.
Not sure. I don't know.
Can make quite a lot from him.
Oh, is it just they've got to do those calculations like Rogan? They wanted to cancel Rogan during all that COVID stuff, but someone's doing the maths over at Spotify. Oh, guys, the Taylor Swift album a day. We can't cancel him. Shit. So.
He's not wrong. Gotta be honest. Yeah, Spotify is pretty fucking craven when it comes to that stuff. It's kind of like they've done this out of sight, out of mind thing, and then they clearly have told Joe Rogan stuff behind the scenes. Like when that entire fucking super racist compilation came out, and everyone was like, "Oh my god, Joe Rogan is a massive fucking racist." That's like one of the most intensely racist things you could say. You said fucking Planet of the Apes? What? Joe Rogan? Fuck. Oh, that's disgusting. Oh, whoa. N-word compilation. What are you? Jesus Christ, Joe. What is going on? No, you do not get the pass. This is not a thing. Joe, what are you doing? So I got to come out and say that, I apologize for, past statements. They were offensive. It's not what I believe. Obviously, I was trying to make edgy jokes. We've all done the edgy jokes. Yep. So anyways, vaccines cause autism. Yeah.
Twitter have allowed back those 4 particular people, but and I suppose there's a lot of outrage. Again, you can isn't it now? Are we at a time where your opinion is determined by a set of...
It's amazing that Adidas had more scruples than Spotify. Not only more scruples, but it was founded by Nazis. It's like, and they took a stance. They took a fucking expensive stance. You can't look at that decision by Adidas and actually be like, well, I mean, this was for woke points, It's like, no, all that shit doesn't apply here. They take a huge hit from this. This is massive. They have calculated as a corporation and especially as a board that it is better for them to drop Ye than it is for them to continue down this road, seeing where it's going to take, because it's already super anti-Semitic. So we're just going to bow out. It's going to be fucking expensive as fuck, but we're going to do this because in the long term, going down that road could hurt us more. So that's why they made that choice, and that's wild. Spotify, on the other hand, is like, wow. The libs get mad at the anti-vax shit. The libs don't get as mad at the trans stuff. In fact, the trans stuff is probably the worst of what he's putting out there in terms of misinformation. But we're going to let this one slide. We're just going to, it's the bottom line being that people aren't mad enough. Let's just say that. It doesn't affect our brand enough. It doesn't hurt our bottom line, doesn't hurt investors, doesn't hurt people. People haven't really associated Spotify with harming trans kids because of Joe Rogan, and because that connection hasn't really been made, we're fine. We're in the clear.
Of pre-agreed alliances and principles, is it? Like, if you're a centre-left liberal person and it's like, no, it's outrageous, they should be banned. That's why it's interesting to watch Chappelle on SNL, because he's like Gelignite and he's sort of like saying, like, you know, you like introducing the subject of Kanye or Trump, but then being sort of genuinely surprising on those subjects, sort of inviting you to challenge your own prejudices and your preconditions for laughing. You can hear that kind of nervousness. And of course, what's said about Twitter is, well, look, if we are banning Trump and Jordan Peterson and Andrew Tate and Kanye, if you have to be sort of like, I'm down for free speech, or you have to say, right, what are the conditions? Is it inciting violence, in which case you have to agree that Trump was integrally involved in what some call the insurrection and other call protests of January the 6th?
Fucking centrist piece of shit. I was fucking call it that. Not me fucking me. I don't fucking do that. No, it's fucking the other ones, but yeah.
To say that Tate is a misogynist, I guess you have to agree with certain aspects of that.
Oh my God, Russell, how much like work have you done? Okay, we got to pull the quote list up again.
And then sort of Kanye, I guess it's the anti-Semitism, and with JP, it was the stuff about Elliot Page, who, when we had our conversation, I challenged him on that basis, not from a free speech angle, but just from a simple compassion one. And you can go and check that when you've checked this, and let me know in the chat and the comments what you think about free speech in general. Free speech surely means the freedom of speech for people that you disagree with to express their opinions freely. Here are some...
Yeah, you have that. We all do. Jesus Christ, you can walk down the street and say whatever the fuck you want. You might be arrested for fucking causing acts of violence if you go and punch someone. That's not speech. But you can walk outside and say horrifying things. Yes, you can be a racist, you can be a bigot, you can be a transphobe, you can be a homophobe. You can do that in this, like this, the comfort and safety of your house all day, every day. That's all you can talk about. There's a difference between that and a private company amplifying your voice using very sophisticated algorithms to do that, and whether or not you have an ability to profit off that same mechanism. Those are very separate things. Hey, should we have rules in place to protect the press from the government, to protect criticism of the press from the government? Yes, we absolutely should. That is a fundamental part of democracy. You should be able to call your leaders like Justin Trudeau a racist ass blackface wearing piece of shit. You should be able to say that out loud and not worry right now about Justin Trudeau kicking the door in and arresting me. Not worrying about CSIS doing that. For the most part, it's pretty fucking based. I love it. I'm all for that. Hey, you should protect whistleblowers. You should protect people who are willing to be courageous enough to report on things that are wrong within the company or an organization or an institution. You should protect that. That freedom of speech should be protected. You should protect the rights for people to be able to protest their governments or ideas or all of that. All of those things should be protected. Hey, you know what? It's in the First Amendment of the Constitution, and that's actually probably my favorite part about it. I believe in all of that, fundamentally. This is so different from private company X has a right to be able to amplify my fucking racism or misogyny or like, I have an inalienable right to say the most horrifying things and amplify that in the form of media. In the same way radio stations do, in the same way televisions do, in the same way like fucking, this is mainstream new media, sure, but it is so prevalent that I still have the power under this to be able to say the worst fucking things and have millions of people listen to me. You have 6 million people that listen to you because of Alphabet, the corporation. Not because you run your own show that a TV production agency is completely fine with both funding and or hosting and or broadcasting. Has nothing to do with that. This is a tech company that allows you to have all this and get these views and have fucking, again, millions and millions of people listen to your ideas. And so that is different. The different things can be different.
Other people, Gareth, will you read this to us? This is about other people.
This is about FIFA, actually.
Well, haven't we got something about
story.
other people that are banned from Twitter? Well, the sheiks and sheiks and people that were like, good old 2000.
Okay, so some of the quotes from Andrew Tate that he's now talking about, with clearly putting zero work into, on a rant about the Harvey Weinstein case, he says, if you put yourself in a position to be raped, you must bear some responsibility. That's Andrew Tate. Again, talking about Harvey Weinstein raping his victims, they put themselves in that position. If you put yourself in a position to be raped, you must bear some responsibility. Said during previous Twitter rant, the statement also generated controversy with several people condemning Tate's words. This belief does not discredit as a whole. Stick to serious definitions and stop pretending normal male behavior is rape. Normal male behavior. I can tell you this as a male who considers himself to be pretty normal. Rape is not normal male behavior. And it does not matter how a woman dresses around me. That doesn't matter if she fucking is naked in the room. I don't have a right to that. No, not without consent. It has nothing to do with how she presents herself at all. It's like, that is the fucking language of rapists. Said during the 2014 interview, Tate told the press that it was him jokingly mocking a Russian kickboxer he was going to fight, arguing the kickboxer did some comments seriously in the Russian press. And he said to him, "Why would you be with a woman who's not a virgin anyway? She has used goods secondhand." Another quote in 2017 on a rant. "So people defend depression. They get angry when I say this because they need bullshit to justify their own failures. By admitting I'm right, they need to work hard to make themselves happy. To avoid the work, argue with me and pretend depression is an actual real thing." Tate's opinion on women has always caused controversy, especially with him making many misogynistic comments during interviews. This comment was said during a Barstool Sports interview. By extension, if I have responsibility over her, then I must have a degree of authority. I mean, by Andrew Tate's fucking rapist-ass bar, human trafficking style, that one's probably not as bad as the others. Still really fucked up and weird to say, and if it just, like, any of my friends ever said that out loud, I would be like, whoa, we gotta talk. One of the best things about being a man is being territorial and being able to say, that is mine. Tate said while he was being investigated concerning abuse allegations, "I'm not a rapist, but I like the idea of just being able to do what I want. I like being free." Keep in mind that he moved specifically to a country that had much laxer laws as well as police presence on the abuse of women. So that's also a part of Andrew Tate. Tate's comments on women having multiple partners has also attracted controversy. He said, "Read the Bible. Every single man has multiple wives. Not a single woman has multiple husbands. It's against the will of God. It's disgusting." Who wrote the Bible?
10-style terrorists.
The comment has been made, and it has been made a lot by, say, right-wing commentators around the time when Trump was being banned, of, you know, leaders of repressive regimes who weren't necessarily banned, that you had, I don't know, Iranian leaders or other examples, Venezuelan leaders who were committing atrocities in their own countries, and yet they were still allowed on Twitter. And I suppose the comment was, what's the rule then? Where's the cut-off point?
What is the rule? Because if the rule is ban dictators, then you've got to ban all dictators. If it's...
I don't know if it's a guest or if it's his new sidekick. I got to be honest, though. Russell Brand's sideshow isn't really that entertaining. I would prefer someone else.
Advocates of violence, then you have to ban all advocates of violence. It has to be uniform, otherwise people will identify other patterns and say, oh, it's because of your personal political preferences.
I guess also, you know, we had Alan McLeod on talking about how the infiltration of groups like the CIA into Twitter. And when you look at, I mean, then it's like, how far down do you go? Do you look at the CIA and say, well, what have the CIA been guilty of? What kind of things in relation to terrorist groups and things that the CIA have played their part in? And now where are we? So what we're just saying is, on the surface, we ban these people because...
No, what are you saying? You're talking about a free... What the fuck is this? I just want to say is fucking the CIA, they do a lot of fucking fucked up shit around the world. Fucking terrible fucking CIA. You can just look, oh, fucking overthrows, fuck them. But what I'm saying is fucking free speech, bruv.
Of what they represent to us because of how politically useful these people, rightly or wrongly. But then it's like, how far do you go with this?
I suppose what you have to identify is what your own prejudices and biases are. Like, so if you like, guess what? There's this weird coincidence. I really hate Donald Trump, and I also think Donald Trump should be banned from Twitter. I hate Jordan Peterson, and I also think, like, I suppose where things become interesting is when you say,
Okay, so, hey, what's going down right now where Elon Musk, a dictator, because he is a dictator, he is the fucking overlord of Twitter. I don't think this situation should exist as is. I don't think companies should be run in dictatorships. I'm not for dictatorships. I'm for democracy. I want more people to have more power, to have equal rights to be able to vote, and have more control in the workplace. That's where I'm coming from in all this. It's playing out just like I thought it would. This is the problem. He's proving our point. It's not the opposite of that. Right now, the fact that Elon Musk is like, okay, the Nazi button, bring, and then all of a sudden it's like, Sargon of Akkad hath returned. Women should be raped. And you're like, oh, okay, whoa, okay. This is the exact problem I was talking about. This is why this shouldn't exist. You shouldn't have the ability to do that. One person should not have the ability to suddenly be like, the Vox Populi, Vox Dei, you know?
I completely disagree with the politics of Donald Trump and the philosophy of Jordan Peterson, but I believe in free speech, and therefore, like, it's once those two things, if you can uncouple those ideas, then I think there's a chance for reasonable debate. But there is no debate. There are sort of two frozen blocks of dogma clashing against one another, and I can't help but think that that is convenient for centralized power and a distraction. Now take this World Cup in Qatar. Like, similarly,
yo, someone's got to remix that. Remix bros, you watching? Get on that. You got all the samples you need, multiple different intonations, and fast, furious, like fucking. You can almost hear the record scratch on that one.
Who's in a position, whether it's the CIA infiltration of social media, like if you accept that there has been CIA and FBI infiltration into Facebook and Twitter and all of the social media giants, has been widely reported, and not into irrelevant positions. They are controlling the editorial policy. They are controlling who gets censored. So ultimately, big tech and the state have a shared agenda. That's ultimately what's being, and certainly are able, or certainly have convergent interest to the degree where they can control a narrative and assure that their agenda is met.
Trump, I mean...
okay, come on. Ugh, like the surface level shit, like that has not been done exclusively on places like Twitter or Facebook. In order to craft a narrative, you be able, like, there is so much more going on when it comes to the manipulation of mass media, as well as the manipulation of the general public. And I'm not in any way, shape, or form going to deny that that happens. Of course it happens. Capitalists will protect capital. They will protect their investment. They will protect their wealth and power. They want to uphold these structures, and they want to maintain these structures. Yes, it's very easy to point that out. It's very easy to say, hey, that's happening here. But then it gets weird when you only hyper-focus on this one thing, like the woke SJW liberal fucking Silicon Valley. It's like, yeah, well, not anymore, thanks to Daddy Elon. He's taking over Twitter, so now Twitter is effectively on the right. And it's like, okay, fine, Twitter can become a right-wing company. That's pretty much what it's doing in fucking... It's speedrunning that right now. It is a right-wing company. Yes, all the things everyone ever said, hey, what if right-wingers ran some of the biggest tech companies in the world? Well, okay, here's an example. This one isn't one of the biggest, but it's pretty, significant for sure, especially for politics. Look, the N-word has increased by a magnitude of hundreds of %. This is something that's, oh, whoa, all of these fucking transphobes, homophobes, racists, they're all being allowed back on the, like, why were they kicked off? Oh, for hardcore transphobia, hardcore racism, anti-Semitism. It's like, oh, well, welcome back. Like, okay, fine. We get to see it. Everything we always said turned out to be true. Like, everything that I've spent years saying out loud that I was like, hey, if they ever actually had control, this is what would happen. Boom, you done it. And also foolishness, the check marks, the jokes, I can't sit here and say that this is anything more than exactly what everyone predicted. Like,
it's a very difficult case, but it's very hard to argue that he's in a general, like, constant way inciting violence. You could maybe argue that he maybe did that on January 5th and January 6th, but I think that's a difficult argument to hold up forever.
I despise the fucking post-liberal centrists now, darling children of the right. Every one of them. I like, honestly, I think you may be in a category of your own for just pure vile resentment, where I'm just like, every one of you motherfuckers just sitting there being like, well, I don't want to take a strong position on anything fundamentally, but I do want to point out something and obviously reinforce the narrative of the right while I'm doing it. So the right is obviously going to benefit from what I say right now, but I'm also not going to take a hard position one way or the other. And then Glenn Greenwald shows up and he's like, exactly, that's what you should be doing because the liberal media attacks us. And you're like, Jesus Christ, it's all happening in real time. Every one of you.
And then you have to apply it to everybody. That's the big problem with all this, is how do you remove one person but not 5,000 other people who've committed the same kinds of offenses? People are always going to see bias in those decisions.
Yeah, I think you're.
Way to say the most generic fucking thing ever. Wow, it's kind of like that's your entire career now. It's just like you and fucking, at least you're not as bad as Michael Tracy. Michael Tracy wants to be this, but also doesn't know how to play it safe. Because he's like, I want to be a contrarian. This is my calling. I want to be all fucking whatever you believe. I believe the opposite because what I say is true. But I'm probably going to take some super yikesy fucking journeys along the way. I'm probably going to come out of the gates and fuck up time and time again. And then I'm like, well, time to be edgy. Time to be a contrarian on the internet. Well, did you know that it was the Americans that did the Holocaust? And you're like, wait, what? Michael Tracy, what are you doing? Did you know that it's racist to say that Herschel Walker talks strange? He's very similar to the blacks in the South. And you're like, what are you saying right now out loud, Michael Tracy? What are you doing? Like, you don't have to do this to yourself. Hey, maybe it's a good idea if I go to a college campus and I tell all those kids what's what. They'll respect me, and then I'll see, and my peers will see that I'm a respected intellectual when I go to a college campus with a fucking briefcase and a microphone attached to it and start talking to all these college kids. Michael Tracy, never change. Okay, you provide a service to us all in that you make us laugh. I'll say that.
I think you're right about that, certainly. Do you think that Trump, it is the era of Trump over? Like in his announcement at Mar-a-Lago, he said that he would dismantle the deep state. He still seems to incentivize let's call it the sort of neoliberal left in the same way he always did. Do you think that we're seeing the decline of the sort of Trump era, even if it is the Trump narrative rather than him as a sort of a political figure?
So I made the mistake once in October of 2016 of saying Donald Trump was finished. This was after the Access Hollywood thing. I put that in print in Rolling Stone, and I'm not going to make that mistake ever again.
I valued to be NGG to a degree long after the many libs began to hate themselves intensely. Much now I feel the same way you do, mostly due to the fact that they're making millions pretty much lazily grabbing low-hanging trending fruit. That's the other thing. Like, that's the part I hate, is that, like, everything they're doing, like, Glenn Greenwald came out with that 3-piece, like, fucking, no, I think he added 2 more, so maybe it was like 5 or 6 Twitter thread about, like, excellent New York Times piece on basically how we are, like, readily accepting puberty blockers for children when we don't know nearly enough about them, and like blah blah blah, and then like went on this whole thing. I was like, you are just doing the fucking trans panic bullshit right now in 4K for pay, and that's that's Glenn Greenwald. That's what he's about. That's so sad. That's so sad that, like, you're just willing to go along with all this. Doesn't matter that you're like, you are so dramatically wrong in terms of like the facts. And he's such a coward. Glenn Green, like, he's one of the people who's just like, I'm just asking questions. Why is it that the liberal media won't allow us to ask prevalent questions about a real potential concern? And like, at least Tulsi Gabbard, for all of her fucking transphobia, has the courage to go out and say her transphobic shit she'll be remembered for. Like, give speeches with Matt Walsh and say horrifying things for like, oh, that's a lie. Wait, are you equating this with pedophilia? Wow, that's disgusting. Shame on you. But she's honest. She's honest.
The guy is never finished. He's like Jason in the Friday the 13th movies. Like, he's never actually dead. You should never turn your back on Donald Trump. And what he feeds off is the way that sort of mainstream media and politicians treat him. There's a narrative that he creates that he's being treated unfairly, and in many cases he's right. And the more they do that, the more they try to clamp down and use force to prevent him from speaking or whatever it is, he draws energy from that. So I never count him out. I always think that his best friends are his enemies, actually, because they give him all this momentum through the media by trying to cut off your ability to hear what he has to say.
So if you were trying to handle Trump strategically, you would say, let Trump be on Twitter, let Trump access media like any other political...
I mean, where's the bar? I don't understand. At what point are you going to be like, okay, so there are certain individuals who, if we give them the power on this thing we've created, let's, what do we call it? Social media. If we give them the power on our social media to grow to certain sizes, they actually have the same power as broadcasters, TV stations, newspapers, that kind of stuff. And if we give them that power and they have no editorial staff, no control, no producers, no nothing, it's just whatever comes to their brains, their fucking syphilitic brains, they get to publish and put out there. And what about the effects? Like, if it has real world effects, damaging effects, if people try to upend democracy, fucking do a coup, should we maybe say we should restrict that? I'm just saying, like, it's my company, I have the power to do this. Maybe not put it to a Twitter poll that is going to be incredibly biased based on the fact that most of your followers would want that.
Orator or ideologue, and focus the argument, if you are an opponent of Trump, on how you are going to address the issues that Trump successfully has brought to the forefront. The belief that there are deep state operatives that control the political space beyond the reach of ordinary democratic process, that you will limit and control corporate power and finance and create a fairer world for ordinary Americans of all colours and persuasions. Would that be a way of doing it? And is that impossible for Trump's opponents because of their entrenched relationships?
Well, I think that's the key. I think Trump understood this on some level in 2016, which is that, the way that you defeat Donald Trump, if you're thinking strategically, is to kind of ignore him as much as you can, and then offer your own positive, believable, honest way forward for people. And what happened, I think, in 2016 especially, was we had this country that had experienced tremendous difficulty after 2008. There was this growing wealth gap that was caused in large part by corruption that went totally unpunished during the Obama years. And Donald Trump got up there and said, look, I come from this world. I'm one of these people who lives up on that corrupt Olympus, and I know how things work, and they're lying.
This is so sad, Jesus Christ. Oh yeah, the billionaire outsider, the super rich dude, he's definitely going to change the system, drain the swamp.
To you, and they're lying about me, and rather than address that directly, they just kept talking about him, being this or that.
It's no surprise that, Matt has joined the entire circle of basically, I used to be a liberal, but now I understand I have to be on the right because the liberals have gone crazy with all of this trans ideology. People want to shut down kiwi farms. That's so weird to me. I mean, at the end of the day, why would you do that? They should have the freedom of speech to say, dox, and or harm anyone they want. In perpetuity.
And highlighting his negatives instead of addressing the issues, which is what they've never done. They've never understood that they have to reckon with their own unpopularity before they can get rid of the guy.
Watch entire episodes on demand for free at rumble.com/Russell Brand.
Whew, that was terrible, Russell. Do you enjoy the Serfs but prefer not to have to use your eyeballs? Many are saying this. Well, we've got the solution for you. It's the Serf Times in podcast form, available on most major podcasting networks now. If you enjoy it, please consider leaving a good review and feedback because it really helps the show out, apparently, and it's free, just like the podcast.
To our gods, Xander Corvus and Peyton L. Juste, we shall spend many a generations building mighty cathedrals in your honor. To our monarch, Tom Spiker, we are but your oafish jesters, here to offer you a laugh at any opportunity. To our brave knights of the Round Table, Rachel K., Izzy Solidarity, Victoria Bell, Sebastian Demo, Mark Harmon, Benji Arney, Scary Earth Human, Tony, DM Rivera, Resident Scarecrow, Sir Nickus, Cheryl Alvarez, Ruby Kelly, Brandon, Words Greenwood, Everything Important, Hegbert Celine, Matthew Scarborough, Stellar Vision, Ariane McCarthy, Doug Cady, Daniel Sutton, Jenna Tao, Dark Puppy, Quiet One 85, Anna Loves Riley, Omni, Riley and Anna, Poodlehawk, Multimondi, Trevbot EXE, Brian Ephraim, Anthropophojak, Catherine, Ramon Acosta, Nkosin, Ralph Parler, Violent Orchard, Political Puppy, La Media Panza, Todd Buckingham, and Todd La Jeunesse. We salute our valiant heroes off to fight injustice everywhere.